Hello and welcome to another Monday night stream. A few minutes late starting. I was just finishing grabbing a quick snack to give myself the energy to be here. I got a little bit distracted reading something and forgot to finish eating it. So there we are. Anyway, I'm here to pick up where we left off last week. Although one thing I have done is I've put Card's voice work in, which is the problem I ran into last week. So the only thing I did was process that. So I hadn't recorded it when I had, but when I recorded it I had a cold and it sounded like I had a cold, so I had to record the Card dialogue again. So I did that, processed it and put his lines in with this scene. Krogan, Dr. Clubby and Ben Kenobi, or shall I say General Kenobi. It's good to see you all. I've realised I missed a step in the description for this stream. I need to line up Card's animation with his dialogue because it doesn't quite match. So we'll be doing that too. Have you seen the trailer and early gameplay for Star Wars Outlaws? Yep, I saw the trailer yesterday and I watched the gameplay earlier today. An open world smuggling themed game is something I've wanted for quite some time. Basically sits out as a child. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with that game. Obviously it's quite a way off, not until next year, and they're kind of vague in what part of next year it's going to be, so it could be spring or summer or even towards Christmas next year. But you know, I'd rather they took the time to get it right. So it looks like it's got a lot of potential though. I did like the way the character acts more like Han. Like some of the moves, like the sneaking up, tapping the guy and punching him in the face, and then hitting another guy in the face with her blaster. Very Han Solo smuggler type moves. So it's gonna be nice to have that kind of experience in a Star Wars game. I hope I get to shoot stormtroopers. I'm pretty sure you're going to. There are some stormtroopers in the obviously in the trailer yesterday, but also in the gameplay trailer today. And I believe in the poster they released yesterday, there were some stormtroopers on that as well. I just really like the idea that you can run around and then you get in your ship and seamlessly fly up into space. I know other games have done that, but this is a Star Wars game. The new human face animations are insane. City Skylines. I still need to watch the City Skylines trailer. And look at the animations for MetaHuman. So I watched the Starfield. The trailer and then the full presentation yesterday. That's going to be a good game. Well, I hope it's going to be a good game. I'm sure it's going to be very glitchy because of Bethesda. But it's got a lot of potential to it. And I'm probably going to spend a lot of time just building spaceships in that. Because that looks like it's going to be a fun feature to play around with. For those of us who don't know, how long have you seen each chapter of the Empire? It depends on the chapter. So there's several factors that affect how long it takes to make a chapter. One is how long it is. Obviously, a shorter chapter requires less animation to be done. How long it takes for the voice actors to send me the dialogue, because I find I get better character animations if I can, because I do the motion capture for all the characters, so I do a better performance if I can hear the dialogue. So when I have the recordings, I'll put together a rough version of it and listen to it as I do the scene, so I can get the movement for each character right. Also, the complexity of the chapter. So something that's just characters walking around or just sitting around chatting is a very simple chapter to make. Something with a big action sequence or a space battle or something like that, those take longer, because obviously you've got all the effects work that needs to be done, and the action needs to look right. And I like to spend some time figuring out the tactics used by the whatever factions are fighting. So it's not just a random shootout or spaceships shooting each other. It needs to feel like there's an actual plan behind what both sides are doing. The book obviously helps with that. But there's also a point where it needs to be visual. So I take what's in the book and then I'll play around with it and take it and turn it to a way that looks like a real battle that's taking place. And the best example of that one I can show you, talk about right now, is Chapter 9, where the Thrawn attacks Bafash. Because in the book, that entire scene is just told on the bridge of the Chimera. There's no description of the battle taking place outside, or at least not really. So I took what was in the book and then extrapolated that and made a whole space battle sequence, because in the book it makes sense. You're just getting it from Thrawn and Pelian's perspective. But in a video, you need to see the battle, and so it's important for me to do that. And there's some action sequences coming up, which I'm already working on figuring out the placement of the characters, like the Hilliard City stuff. I've got the locations mapped out. I did that on a previous stream, and then of course the big space battle at the end of the book. That's another one that requires a lot of planning. Although luckily the book in that one is a bit more descriptive than the Bafash raid, because obviously you've got all the different characters, and pretty much every character's there. So it helps to have all those perspectives and to tie it together. So I'm working out planning those two big battle sequences so that they're going to look really good. At least I hope they look really good once they're done. But yeah, I hope that. I know it's not a specific answer of. I can't say it takes me 2 weeks to do a chapter, because obviously it doesn't. It's a hard question to give an answer that directly to, but I hope I explained the different factors in it that affect things. Hello Darth, hope you had a wonderful day today. Yeah, it's pretty good. Floopy, it's good to see you. Yeah, it has been a while, but I'm glad you're here today. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is check. Yeah. So, cards movement animation doesn't sync up with Ave's. Ave's movement is correct with the scene. Excuse me. Have a quick drink of water. There we go. Sorry about that. It's very warm here today, and even though it's night time, it's still very warm. So yeah, Abe's character movement more or less matches the dialogue of the scene. It might need a couple of adjustments here and there, but I'm happy with it for now. But Cards is completely out of sync, so what we need to do is adjust Cards' movements so he matches the scene. So I'm going to listen to it. I have turned off the sound, so you won't be able to hear the dialogue because I want you guys to see the scene finished. Dave Filoni, Disney is selling Lucasfilm and Star Wars. I've heard that rumour. I would very much doubt that it's true. Knowing the way big businesses operate. Answer the question well, thank you. I want you to know I enjoy your work immensely and have binge watched chapters 1 to 23 many times. Looking forward to 24. I'm looking forward to 24 as well. I've got 25 and 27 are finished. I did tweak some stuff in 27 as I had some ideas to improve things, but I reserve the right to do that because it's going to be a while before I release them. But my plan is to release them and 26 in fairly short succession once 24 is done. I still need to actually work on 26, but yeah, we'll get there. So I think we might have a bot, since he's just repeated the exact same message. Disney are never going to sell any IP they own. Zealous Overman, yes, welcome back. You were here last week. It's good to see you, and it was really good to see your HD upscale of your most infamous work, Male Restroom Etiquette. So for those who don't know, Zealous Overman is a long-time friend of mine from the Machinima community. He's made some very excellent videos, so you should check out his channel, including releasing the other day, yesterday actually, an HD remaster of his best known work, which is Male Restroom Etiquette, made with The Sims 2. Right, so we're going to chop off that bit of Cards animate. Oh, that was Ace. Let's select the right character. Okay. First time. I've had to do that to anyone on the stream. I just blocked Charles Gabriel's messages because it's obvious he's just going to be spamming that misinformation about Disney selling Star Wars, because that is never going to happen. And we don't need to see it repeated. But in all that, it's been what, 18 months since I started streaming. It's the first time I've ever had to do that. So I think we're doing well. Anyway, back to the stream. We don't need this section of Cards animation. So I'm going to chop that bit off. We create a break, which is a cut in the sequence, and then delete the bit we don't need, which means that I can move it earlier in the timeline. So I'm going to watch through it. The sound is off because I don't want you guys to hear the performances until the video is released. But I still need to be able to hear it to get the animation correctly lined up. Hey Darth, sometime in the future, do you plan on doing the 2 books? I'd like to. It's a very good story. So I'm just listening to it. Not quite right yet. Okay. I need to chop a bit more at the beginning. That's fine. So I do apologise for the way I sound. My allergies are playing up. Floopy, wait guys, I heard this rumour that Disney is selling Lucasfilm. Do you think it's true? I think they're going to make Star Wars completely open source, and I did put in a bid for an entire $1, which they are considering. Right. Obviously I'm kidding. Yes, the Empire is the best book trilogy ever used, that's written in character development, story arc. Excuse me. It does capture the spirit of Star Wars so well. Of course, at the time it's written, the only thing they had to go on, really, was the original trilogy, the Ewok movies, which I don't think were that inspirational, and the West End Games role-playing game. We discuss the Throne trilogy quite a lot here. Right, I chopped off that bit and I'm lined up, so I'm going to try it again. Oh, almost got it. Let's try again. Pretty much spot on for what I want. So I'm going to save that and answer the questions in the chat. How did you get involved in doing your own animation? What made you choose this Star Wars story to animate first? That's two very difficult, well, not difficult, but separate questions to answer. Well, thank you, Phil. So, my very first animated project, which you will never find, because it is absolutely terrible, was a Star Wars fan film, 2D animation. I'd been impressed by lots of Star Wars fan films I'd seen, and I wanted to make my own. But of course, I was 16 years old, so there's no way I could possibly afford a camera of any kind for video use. And this is before smartphones, so it's not like now I could just use my phone to film something if I really wanted to. But smartphones didn't exist. And even if I did have a camera, I didn't know anyone in person, sort of locally, who would actually want to be in front of it. So that's another big problem. Then I started looking at animation, because I thought, I don't need a camera for that, I can do it on the computer. And I had lots of online friends who would probably be happy to record dialogue for me. So that was my first attempt at animation, I wasn't too I was proud of what I did, but I knew it wasn't what I really wanted to be doing. So for my next project, I turned to machinima, which is the idea of using video games to tell a story, because you can control the characters, you can record the footage, and tell a story. So I did something that was inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer, using Neverwinter Nights with a mod to turn the fantasy Dungeons and Dragons world into a modern day, modern city kind of, and cars and all that kind of stuff. And I was much happy with the whole process and the way it looked. So I took the story from that first 2D animation and decided to remake it using the Star Wars games. And then I did more of those. And then I got to a point where I completed that story over the course of 4 films. Let's try doing my own thing, which is how Chronicles of Humanity started, which you're talking about now in the chat. And for the record, ZS Overman does some voice work in Chronicles of Humanity. And I'm glad you're enjoying that as well. It was a lot of fun to make my own world, my own characters, and do something different. I mean, as much as I like Star Wars, they kind of come to the point where I've learnt a lot of stuff. I want to make my own thing. So I was working on that for a long time, and then I finished. There's 3 seasons of it, and each one took quite a while to make. And season 3, I'm not going to give away any spoilers for Dr. Clubby, because obviously you're still watching it. Season 3 wraps up most of the plot lines, though. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but there were still some loose threads that did not fit in that story. So I made a 4th, which covers all of that. And I thought, I want to do something short, just to practice, space battles and get some ideas, so I can not spend a lot of time on one project, but it's just like an experimental project, which is how Heir to the Empire Chapter 1 was made, because I remembered Chapter 1 is a fairly simple sequence. It's got Thrawn and Pillion, and it's got the space battle, and it was short enough that I thought this is exactly what I need to do to practice what I want to do. Of course, my idea of it being a short, simple project didn't go quite the way I expected, because when I put it on YouTube, I did not expect the reaction that I got. And here we are, working on chapter 24, 4 years later. So that's a brief history of my animation work. There's obviously a lot more to it, but you can find a lot of my stuff here on my channel, the older work, except for that very first project. You won't see that. Actually, I did do a Star Wars fan film called Imperials, which is again a remake of that very first project, because the machinima version was a big step forward, and I was getting really hyped for Star Wars because of seeing the trailers for Rogue One. I thought, I want to have some fun like that. So I took the story, rewrote it again, re-recorded all the dialogue again with some of the same voice actors and some new ones, because I really wanted to do a Star Wars project again, and I had a lot of fun with that. And I feel like that's the best version of the story, because obviously my understanding of the way things work in the world, and like politics and all that stuff, is much better now than it was when I was a teenager. So that's my best take on that story, and I'm really proud of that work. I'm sure if I remade it again, I would just keep all the dialogue, keep the script the same, just re-render it again using this technology. Which is actually a really tempting idea. But no, I don't want to get too distracted from Heir to the Empire. I couldn't agree more. It's very excited to hear Timothy Zahn is lending his expertise on Thrawn in the Ahsoka series. I was there at Celebration when they announced that. Sadly, Timothy Zahn himself wasn't there, but I saw Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on stage talking about getting involved with Timothy Zahn and having him consulting with him on it. And we got to see a different version of the trailer from the one that's online, which had more stuff on it and Thrawn's face. Some of those scenes are now on the release date trailer that they released, I think, last week, but we still haven't seen Thrawn's face yet. I'm sure at some point they'll release a new trailer that does more, probably closer to the time. Voice casting for this must be challenging with the sound likes needed. Yeah. Luckily when I was doing chapter 1, none of the movie characters are in it, so I didn't have to worry about that. Once I got all the requests for more, that was one of the big issues I had to look at, was how can I make the characters look, well, they have to look like you expect, but they also have to sound right as well. So I did the look first, because that was the easier challenge. I didn't want to find voice actors who were willing to do it if I couldn't get the characters to look right. And at the time I was pleased with the results, and obviously the character models have evolved quite significantly since then. But I was lucky to find this guy. His name's Matt Finish. He does impressions videos. I found his channel criminally undersubscribed and underviewed. He had 2 videos, one with the original trilogy characters and a second with the prequel trilogy. So I watched both videos and I was completely blown away by how good he was, every single voice he did. So he voices Han, Luke for most of it, Wedge, Admiral Akbar, Ben Kenobi, 3PO and Lando. In his videos he does even more, but as far as this story goes, those are the only ones that are in it. And more recently he had to step back from Luke because of life commitments. So luckily Master Luke came in, and he drops by the stream sometimes. So Master Luke actually took over the role of Luke. So he had a very good name, appropriate name for it, and he's very good too. So I was lucky to find both of them. And same with Leia. I found someone who was really good for Leia. Ended up with 2 Leia voice actresses. First one, she was very good and very happy to do lend a voice. But when I started talking to her about the scale of doing the entire book, I think she thought that was a little bit too much for her. So she backed out, which is fine. I completely understand that. But luckily I found Erin, who took over Leia, and she's really good too. So I was lucky to find both of those people. And when it comes to other characters that are only in the book, you get a lot more flexibility in how they can sound. So you've got Robert S. Benjamin as Thrawn. He did Thrawn in my older Star Wars Imperials fan film, so I knew he would be good at Thrawn. We've got Sabayoth, who's voiced by a friend of both of mine and Overman's, who is Ricky Grove, and he's scarily good at playing the insane, cranky old man. Old space wizard. When we did the recording, he did not require much direction. He just read the script and went straight into it. Like, he knew exactly what was needed. Which is good. He was perfect for Sabayoth. Obviously, I voiced Card. Aves is voiced by one of my local friends. And Winter was also voiced by one of my real-life friends. Frustratingly, I did some Aves recording and Winter recording. COVID hit. So I couldn't bring them back for well over a year. I think it was about nearly 2 years between recording sessions for both of them. But fortunately, they are not in there's a big stretch of the book where they're not in it. So that was lucky. Yes, do you voice Rook too? Yes, I do. Everyone, it's really good to see you. Have a good trip home. And again, it's good to see your video yesterday. So thank you for dropping by. So who else? I asked a couple of other friends to do sort of bit parts, like the one line characters and things like that. Yes, I do voice Rook. Again, when I was doing chapter 1, I wanted to make it as easy for myself as possible. So we had the guy who voices Thrawn, Robert S. Benjamin, and I voiced Pelion, Rook, and the lieutenant who talks to them over the intercom. There's the only speaking characters in that chapter. And it was only meant to be a test project, so I wasn't really concerned about me sounding perfect. I have perfected my Pelion voice since then, because I don't think I sounded quite as old and gravelly enough as I should have done at the beginning. But I'm really happy with the way I can do Pelion's voice now. But yeah, one guy voices all those characters, and I'm very lucky to have found him. Right, so the card animation is pretty much where I want it. What I need to do is adjust the timing of some of the audio, which is these bits here. Hoppy, hello and welcome. Also, I'm going to go through this process of smoothing the dialogue. Not the dialogue, the lip sync. I don't know if it's going to show up on the stream when I do it. I don't think it will. But if I right click, there's lip options. And I choose the smooth option. I need to do this to every single clip. Ranink TV, hello, welcome. No one can outvoice your Jawas and Tauntauns. I know, it's hard to compete with them. Right, so this is a little bit tedious and it's not the most exciting, especially if you can't see the window on the stream, which it doesn't look like you can because it's not showing up in my little preview box. Fortunately, there's not a lot of dialogue in this particular scene, so it'll only take a moment. Ranink TV, I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome to the channel. I like to do sort of behind the scenes making of Heir to the Empire every Monday evening. Currently working on a scene for chapter 24. Need to do the same thing for Aves. Will someone voice Palpatine in Mara's mind? That doesn't happen until the next book. I would probably go to Matt Finish first, because he does a very good Palpatine voice, which I know from his videos on his channel. But I haven't really talked to the cast about book 2 yet, because I need at some point to start reading it and writing the script, but also need to have that conversation with the casting. Do you want to come back for book 2? I don't want to make assumptions. It's been a while since I've caught you live streaming. Yeah, I've had a couple of weeks off here and there as well, which probably doesn't help. I went to Celebration, so I didn't stream that week. And I got COVID, so I didn't stream the week or 2 weeks after that. What did I? I know, it's kind of a blur. I wasn't feeling well. And then went to another convention, so again, didn't stream. Let's go, Brandon. I have no idea what that reference means. So what I'm doing now is, when the lips move, the software, you put in an audio dialogue, a piece of audio for one of the characters, and it's good at making the lips move in time for that dialogue. And you can put in the words as well, so it knows, it gets a better understanding of how the characters need to be speaking. But sometimes it can still be a bit rough, which is what I'm doing now, is I'm choosing options that make the lips movement animation a little bit smoother. So when you see the end result of them talking, then it looks more natural. Dr. Cobby, please do. I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you so much. I am glad to be feeling better as well. Book 2 can be done in Java. Yeah, but then I have to... I have to translate this book into that language, and I don't know if I could do that. It's not a language I know. You'll have to write it. If you get 1 million viewers on your videos, I'll send a letter to Ian McDermott asking to the voice. Okay, it'd be good to have one of the original film actors in it. Otherwise, as Captain Rex points out, Sam Witwer, he does a really good Palpatine, as we know from The Force Unleashed and from Rebels. And some of the other stuff he's done. Sam Witwer strikes me as the kind of guy that probably would be up for it, as long as it wasn't going to cause him any legal trouble with Lucasfilm, which I can understand. Maybe in his contract he's not allowed to be in fan stuff, but if he was, it'd be good to... Sam Witwer is someone it'd be good to have a nice long chat with about Star Wars. There's that story about how when he was first in Clone Wars, he was in the recording studio, and it was I forget the name of the sequence, but it's when Anakin is talking to the ghost of his mother through the Force, and he says something like he's in love with Padme and they're secretly married, and he wishes that his mother could have met her. And the whole sequence was recorded, and it was done really well. And then Sam Witwer, very nervously, because this was his first time did Star Wars, put his hand up when he said, they've met in the Phantom Menace, and then Dave Filoni kind of buries his head in his hands, paces around a pit, thinks about it, realises Sam Witwer was right, and walks out, and then comes back and says, "Yeah, you're right." And when he walked out, Sam Witwer was thinking, he was thinking he just got himself fired. But it was true, he did have a valid point there. And the other actors who tell the story, you can find the clips of it on YouTube. They tell it much better than I can, but it sounds like they enjoyed the experience a lot of being in the room when that happened. Dr. Club. Excuse me. I'm going to have some water before I continue that. Dr. Cubby, thank you for that explanation. I'm not going to comment on American politics, partly because I live in the UK. So I want to stay out of that, and we're here to talk about Star Wars, but I do appreciate the explanation of that. Thank you. What is the program you have open on screen that we're looking at? So this is called iClone, and it's a piece of animation software by Reallusion. I've been using it for all of Heir to the Empire. It's gone through some big changes since I started the project, which is why when you watch Chapter 1, it doesn't look as good as it does now. At the moment I've got the quick mode render option because it makes it easier to work, because it's not trying to do all the high res graphic options. It comes with another piece of software that goes alongside it. It's called Character Creator, which is how I created all the character models. And then I use NVIDIA Omniverse to do the actual rendering, because it does ray tracing, which looks better than anything that iClone can produce. Try it and I don't know that language either. What we could do is do it in Shriwalk. Doesn't have to be an accurate translation, you're just going to know it mostly going to be screaming a lot of Utuni. No, what I could do is to really a completely unexpected direction would be to do it in Klingon. Or maybe Tolkien's Elvish. I'm thinking about that now. I remember when Star Trek Discovery started, they released the first season, had subtitles in Klingon. Thinking about that now. I heard a good story about Tolkien's Elvish actually. It was in the Second World War. They used Elvish as a way to, well, the British Armed Forces, I don't know exactly which branch of the Armed Forces it was, but they were using Elvish as a way to, as a code for the secret messages. And the Nazis couldn't figure it out, because it was just so different from anything they expected, until someone got really drunk in a pub and blurted out that they were using Tolkien's Elvish as a way to write secret messages, which kind of put an end to that. But at the time it must have been a really good way to write those secret messages. Or you could do it how to use like Anakin and what he did in Phantom Menace. Good. Hatties, yeah, as we said, Hatties does have a dictionary. It's not as complete as the Klingon dictionary. Oh, one of my older Star Wars fan films, I did write a sequence in Hatties for one voice actress, and I think she wanted to murder me when I gave it to her. But she was up for the challenge, and she did it. I'm going to watch. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that stream. Thank you for stopping by. Every Monday, stream behind the scenes stuff. So I hope to see you again. Okay, so I've done the lip sync. Probably need a little bit more refinement, but this will do for now. Just trying to think what I'm going to do next, because yeah, what I need to do is I'm pleased with the way the two character animations line up with each other, but the dialogue's now not quite lined up right, so I need to go through and adjust it. So I'm going to listen to, actually I'm going to save first. Excuse me. Hatties is spoken largely outside the core worlds. Perhaps you'd get more views from the wild space. You know, it is important to be as inclusive as possible with language options. So maybe the answer here is to do subtitles in all of the languages we've been discussing. Actually, there is something I want to do, is to put out a call for people to write subtitles in languages, so that people whose English isn't necessarily their first language, or a language they know at all, can watch the series. Because I only speak English, or know how to read English, so that I can't do it myself. But I will happily accept any submitted subtitles. You shouldn't just give anyone except the Trekkies. No, we need to have the Klingon dialogue as well. You've never experienced Heir to the Empire until you've seen it in the original Klingon, or read it in the original Klingon. I need to make a meme out of that. All characters can talk like Jar Jar. So I'm going to draw the line at that one. Right, so I'm going to watch through this scene again and figure out lining up adjusting the timing of the dialogue, and it's just a case of clicking on this and dragging it to where it needs to be. So, what the Tuscan language, they deserve to hear your work. They do. So we could have some Tuscan subtitles as well. Right, this one. That can need to go forward. That needs to go there, and that needs to come forward. Right, now we need to adjust A's a little bit. Bring that forward. Everything in R2D2 beeps. See, that one I could do easily. I've got a ton of R2 beeps. Do a whole language. It would look like the whole thing is just constant swearing. need to move that one because it clashes with card. Have it all in Wookiee without subtitles like the holiday special. No. Alright, need to move that one up there. This part seems right. The only reason Uncle Rainer wanted 3PO is so he could translate. We could have actual binary subtitles, just ones and zeros. And we should probably do hexadecimal as well while we're at it. Move that one. Let me listen to this. Yeah, that was pretty quick and easy. Save that. What if we need to find a protocol droid that can speak botchy? Also, we've forgotten the Ewoks. We need an Ewok translation as well. Actually, we could also have a Mandalorian translation, which is every line is just "this is the way," in different tones. How could we forget the Ewoks? I don't know how we could forget the Ewoks, but well, I guess we didn't because eventually we got to it. Also, Geonosian. That'd be pretty easy because it's lots of shrieking noises. What other languages are we missing? Ewoks had no subtitles in Caravan of Courage. Didn't they learn to speak English in the end? Or basic? I vaguely remember they could talk. It's been a long time since I have seen it though. I don't think you can put it in Sith. That was outlawed by the Republic. It was outlawed by the Republic. But when the Empire rose, the Republic stopped existing, so maybe they brought it back. He also used the black speech of Mordor. Yeah. Alright, so it's getting late, and I didn't quite finish everything I wanted to do on today's stream, but I got a good portion of it done. I am working on other parts of this series outside of this, so I'm not only working for an hour on Monday evenings. I am working on other parts of chapter 24, and I did some refinement on 27. So it's all coming along really nicely. Still waiting for some of the dialogue to come in for 24, so I can't finish it yet. But I'm happy with what we've got so far. Some good moments coming up. But I think I might wrap it up there for the stream. And it is 1 AM here in the UK, and I probably should get some sleep. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and thank you all for the various language suggestions. As I said, I will be happy to accept subtitles in any language to be added to the videos. So if any of you want to tackle anything that we've just discussed, please do so and send it in. Alright, Cybistry. Well, if you know it, go for it. I don't think we actually heard much in the way of that in the books. It was more like they were talking in Cybistry, but we get to hear it, well, to read it in English ourselves. And we want people in the unknown regions to be able to experience the story, and they need to know what happened to Thrawn. But yeah, I'm going to finish it there. So again, thank you all for coming. It's always good to chat with you guys on a Monday evening. Make some progress, show you guys what I'm doing, answer questions, enjoy the chat. So may the Thrawn be with you. I look forward to the next stream, and we'll continue working on this scene. And yeah, see you all next time. So have a good evening, and take care. Good night. May the Thrawn be with you.